Would you agree, generally, would you agree that and this is an observation, but if you think about it, and if you disagree, feel free to disagree. This is a discussion. But I find that our industry generally prices property for a seller in a way that is self-serving to get the property sold quickly to put a commission in our pocket. Now, that's not everybody, but as an industry, that's certainly how we're perceived. I got a letter. I actually can show. Can you guys all see me right now? Mm-hmm. All right. I can't see myself, though. Let's see. Can you see this letter? So I got a letter from my neighbor who said, we're thinking about selling our home. You have a beautiful home. You know a lot of people. If you know anybody that wants to come to the neighborhood, this is before they're putting their house on the market. So I had a call with them because I have a real estate license. I could sell their house in my sleep. It's $1.5 million house. Like he goes, I put 1.2 into it. I've talked with realtors. They're telling me I'm lucky to get my money back. In this price range, my belief is the house may not have to appraise because buyers in that price range put 30, 40, 50, 60% down or pay cash. So who sets the market? But now he's had three people and they're all going, you got to price it here. You got to price it here. You got to price it here. I'm reaching out to the guy and he has a friend who's a realtor and she's telling him 1.2 and I'm going, hey, why don't you list it with me at 1.5? You're not in any rush to sell. The market will determine whether we're right or wrong. I don't have a crystal ball. And I will win the listing. Now, I'm not buying the listing. I think the house is worth 1.5 to the right person. And he's not in any rush. So the goal is to get the listing. Now, let's say that I'm wrong. And by the way, I want us all to be open-minded and write down the market sets the price. We don't. And it's really important for us to be reminded that we've all listed property that we thought would sell, and it didn't sell. And we've all listed property or walked away from a listing. How many of us have ever walked away from a listing? That property's never going to sell. And then it freaking sells with somebody else who's less than you. They're inferior to you. They're incompetent. They're inexperienced. They're new. And they just listed it because they had nothing else. So they list it and it sells. So what I've learned after a lot of years of doing this is that I'm not perfect. I don't have a crystal ball. So I want to list everything and let the market dictate what's going on. Now, within reason, right? Like I'm not saying we should list this guy's house for $3 million. That'd be ludicrous, right? There's nothing even close. But if we're within a 10 or 15% range and he's not motivated right now and I'm wrong, his motivation will go up over time and we could adjust the price down, right? Get it to sell. That's what typically happens in the real estate industry. But what happens if I list it at 1.5 and it sells? Do you think he's happy or not happy? He just made 300 grand. And do you think it's easier for me to negotiate my full commission when I'm articulating being an advocate for him? Let's try. And one of my favorite lines is, you can please make sure that everybody doesn't misunderstand me. I'm not suggesting we overprice listings, but I'm saying let's not be so steadfast and pig-headed that we walk away from listings because we're off by a few $1,000. The goal is to get the listing. Let the market determine it. So I want you to think in terms of that, because if you have 10 more listings next year, some of them are going to sell. Not all of them, but some of them are going to sell. So let's do that. We're there anyway. The cost of carrying a listing isn't a lot of money. You know, there's crap that I hear from other trainers. Well, don't waste your time and energy on listings that won't sell. How do you know if it's going to sell? I want my signs everywhere. The public isn't paying attention with a notebook. Oh, Brian had that listing and it didn't sell. They're not paying attention. So the goal is to get listings. Now, let's say that I list this property and it doesn't sell. What most agents would do is have a conversation about a price reduction. Would you all agree? Would that be the next move? Okay, I'm going to tell you that's the third move. There's two moves I want to do first. Both will increase your long-term relationship with the client, will produce raving fans, will demonstrate skills and expertise. So here's the conversation. Mr. Seller, we've had no showings, no offers. We need to get showings in order to get offers. In order to get your home sold, we need demand, and we've had none. Or the other scenario is we've had lots of showings and no offers, but not enough showings. So we need, the number one move is the conversation with the seller is, regardless, we need to get more people into your house. If we get more people into your house, you have a better chance of selling and a better chance of getting your price. Would everybody agree with that? Yes. Now, when I had that conversation with this guy, he's like, holy shit, I love you. You're not hammering me on price. You're actually telling me things that you're going to do to increase the demand. So I'm going to give you a couple. In addition to Zillow, MLS, and everything that we normally do, there's a couple of strategies that you can use and implement. One of them is home sold to the highest bidder. Have we talked about that, gang? That strategy? No. Okay, so it's an open house strategy. So what I would say to the seller is, hey, instead of doing a 4-hour open house and letting anybody traipse through, what I'd like to do is a 1-hour open house. And I'd like to use my marketing to create a bidding war or to get so many people at your house that good things happen. If I could get 30, 50, 70 people to your house, would that be good before we talk about a price reduction? So let's get 70 people into your house. So how we're going to do it is we're going to use home sold to the highest bidder. It's going to create a perception that you're a good deal. This is a good deal. So when buyers want a good deal, they're going to come check it out. I'm going to let them know that the house is listed at the price. So home sold to the highest bidder, 4-bedroom, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, offered at, put in the list price, in this case, 1.5 million. Open for inspection Saturday, 9 to 10. Not for 4 hours, 9 to 10. I want everybody to come in that window. You will create a traffic jam in the neighborhood. People will the neighbors will be going, what the fuck is going on? Oh, Jim's doing an open house. I've never seen an open house with 50 cars on the street. Is that good brand awareness, folks?
Yes, absolutely.
We're not telling people we're going to do a good job. We're showing them we're doing a good job. Now, you have 30 people to your open house. The chances of you double ending it, do they go down or do they go up? They go up. How many of you like to be the other agent, right? 2 sides. So my first strategy is the home sold to the highest bidder. We can post that language on social media. We can do flyers. We can do an ad in the paper. We can put the ad in the open house on the MLS. We can put sign riders. So let me see. I think I have one. See if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. Can everybody see this? So this is an example of a sign, and it does a lot of things. It benefits the seller. The more people that you're showing the seller that you're doing things to increase the demand on your home. You're differentiating yourself. We can do signage. We can do directionals. Great strategy. I don't like 2 hours. Like, I don't know why people change my recipe. 1 hour. Okay, boom. You could do 3 of these on a Saturday. So now we can have, if it doesn't sell, oh, by the way, when a buyer comes in and says, well, okay, well, we'd like to offer this, your response is, the home is offered at this. As you can see, we have a lot of demand, and our expectation is we're going to sell it over the asking price. If you'd like to submit an offer over the asking price, we'd be happy to take it. If things don't work out, I'd be happy to take your name and call you. But I'm not writing ridiculous offers. Does everybody follow me? Everybody cool with that? So guy goes, yes or no. And by the way, what a great strategy for me to pick up that buyer and go, well, if this house isn't for you, we have a buyer advantage program and we can show you others. And now I pick up that buyer from this strategy. We get somebody who wants to make an offer that's within reason. And I didn't ask the seller. By the way, at 1.5, we could drop the property 50,000, 75,000. And how many of you agree it might not make a difference? So let's not do that. Let's do this. Let's increase the demand. If this doesn't work, if this doesn't produce an offer, strategy number 2, Mr. Seller, we need to get more traffic. I have another strategy. We have listed the property at 6%, whatever the case may be. We're offering out 2.5% to the market. That's fair and that's reasonable. And all the other properties in your price range are at 2.5%. But instead of dropping the price 100 grand or 50 grand or 30 grand, would you be willing to invest another 2.5% to increase the demand on your home? What I'd like to do is I'd like to bribe everybody that has a buyer in this price range to show your property and offer them 5 apples. So 2.5%, let me just do the math. And I'll do a couple of examples so that we get our brain around it. So 1.5 million, instead of dropping the price 100, 200,000, right? He thought it was worth 1.2. I'm asking him to make a $37,000 investment instead of a $100,000 price reduction. On a $400,000 house, right? If the house is listed at 4, you might have to drop the price $25,000. What if we did a 2.5% bribe? That's $10,000. They're up $15,000. So now here's the great thing for those of you that have teams. And I think I can show you this real quickly if I can find it. We would have back in the day. I was carrying about 100 listings myself at any given time. Properties weren't selling so fast or so rapidly, but we had a dozen properties that had an incentive on co-broke. And agents would call us and say, can everybody see this? Can you all see me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see me?
I can see you. If you guys,
Yes.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait a minute. I don't see myself anymore. Do you see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you.
So this was our inventory of my listings that had 5% co-brokes. Now, if we couldn't do 5%, we did 4%, we did 3.5%. But how many of you think you'd get more activity on your listing with an increased strategy? And you know what the seller hears? The seller hears, you're doing shit other than dropping my price, which is what everybody else does. Everyone else says, drop the price, keep dropping the price, keep dropping the price, keep dropping the price. How about we show them and we increase the demand and we control the market? And folks, I have sold property for prices that I can't believe. I would bet money. If Vegas was an odds maker, they'd say these properties are not going to sell at this price. So I can tell you emphatically that these strategies have gotten my clients more money for their home. Now, if I succeed and get this guy 1.4, 1.5 million, 1.3, he thought his house was worth 1.2. Everybody else is telling him 1.2. Do you think he's likely to tell people? Do you think that'll impact my future incoming referrals? Now, if the open house strategy doesn't work and the co-broke doesn't work, now we can have a conversation about price or motivation, right? And, I use language like, hey, Mr. Seller, the problem is not with your home. It's the price we have on it. You are still the highest bidder. Well, Brian, you took the listing at that price. Well, you can't fault me for trying to get you more money for your house. I'm trying. But it's been on the market for 4 months now, for 3 months, and we've not been successful. Now, we're looking at rising interest rates. We're looking at elections. We're looking at 20 below zero temperatures in the winter. How many people do you think are looking at property in December, January, February? By the way, here's some additional properties that have recently sold. They're superior and they sold for a little bit less. So have you considered a price adjustment? So I always let the market be the bad guy. But before we talk about price reductions, I want us to offer things that will increase the demand to make sure. Has anybody ever thought, by the way, I see it all the time, especially in this market. Homes sold in one day for $50,000 over asking price. Well, how many of us understand that the agent underpriced the property? If the demand was so great in one day, we didn't really do a great job for our seller, did we? If we're going to be honest. Now, I'm not blaming that agent because nobody has a crystal ball, and maybe that's what that agent thought. Maybe that's what that seller wanted. But let's let the market dictate it, and let's have that conversation with our clients about we don't set pricing. The market sets the pricing. But here's the good news. Do you want to sell at the top of the market? Seller's going to be like, of course. Where do we find out where that is? We look at the data that we have. We put it at the top of the market. But if we don't have any luck with that, I've got a couple of other strategies over and above the MLS, Realtor.com, and Zillow that will dramatically and significantly increase the demand on your home. Whew. All right, this was a good one, I felt. What about you guys?
It was great.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Great job, Brian.
Yeah, that was good.
Awesome.